Hey friends, Christy here with Little Roots Ranch, and today we're going to talk about powdery mildew. Powdery mildew is, if you've been gardening, odds are you get this white stuff on your squashes, cucumbers, rose, broadleaf plantain, whatever, and that's powdery mildew. And so we're going to talk about that today and give some examples of what it is. Don't mind my pigs. What it is and what it is not. I just gave them a bunch of carrots, so they're fighting over it. Anyways, and so one thing I do want to note is that this video isn't going to offer any ways to treat it because I don't treat it. And so I'll get more into that later. But to show what it is and talk a little bit more about it. Anyways, so powdery mildew is a fungus, and what's interesting is there's a lot of misconceptions about what powdery or what environments that powdery mildew grows in. And a lot of folks think that if you're top watering, like watering overhead as opposed to like drip or delivering water directly to the roots, that you're more likely to get it. But actually that's not true. Watering actually, top watering actually really helps knock the spores off if they land. And the general cause of powdery mildew is that your plants are not always, but generally lacking water. Again, not always, but when your plants don't have enough water, then they're stressed. And when they're stressed, they're less likely to be able to combat things like, well, any diseases or anything like that. And so I think a lot of people, when it gets close to powdery mildew season, which is, late summer, they kind of taper off on the watering or whatnot, but that's actually the worst thing you can do because then that stresses the plant. And so my personal philosophy on powdery mildew is that it's going to come, and it's going to, and I leave it. If I notice a single leaf that's really, really bad, I'll just pull it off. But generally, I don't do anything. Rarely does it actually kill the plant. It obviously stresses the plant and is not good for it, of course. But in all reality, we're 2 weeks away from September, obviously depending on when you're watching this video, but we're 2 weeks away from September. I'm starting to see it around. I have to hunt for it though, because I wanted to give a really good example. And but we're coming up on cooler time. The plants are gonna be slowing down anyways, especially the heat loving stuff like your pumpkins, cucumbers, and all that stuff. And so honestly, I just leave mine. I know a lot of people will treat it or do different things. I've heard various things working. I have heard that overhead watering works really well when it gets onto zucchini, but not so much with spaghetti squash. I don't know if that's the case. My spaghetti squash currently doesn't have anything besides beautiful little squashes. And my zucchini plant doesn't have it, which is actually something I've been meaning to say in the last several videos, but I've always forgotten, is that zucchini, well, squash in general, but especially zucchini, a lot of folks think that they have powdery mildew when it's just the leaf. So if you can see these zucchini leaves, let me grab one. They're gonna be prickly, hold on. So you see this leaf? Let me try and see a little bit more right over here. But you see how it's more of a pattern as opposed to all over powdery mildew? This is just variegated, which means it has the white. These leaves have looked like this since day one when they were teeny little leaves. I grabbed a small one, but look how big it is. My zucchini plants are so monstrous. And so I was gonna try and use it as a fan. It's been really hot today. But so this is not zucchini. This is not powdery mildew. If you have a plant that has had the white throughout it since it was just a tiny little baby, that's just the leaf coloring. That's not powdery mildew. Powdery mildew it's fast, and so you'll just see a leaf and it looks like you sprinkled like powdered sugar, baby powder, any kind of white powder all over it, and when you see it, like, you'll know that you'll see it. And I'll come take you to some examples and show you. But again, I just wanted to tie off. I don't do anything with it. I try to be preventative and having the most healthy plants. This is a super side note, but there's a lot of, I want to get into this at one day, but I don't have the big fancy word for it, but it's basically like a bricks measurement. You might have heard that for wine tasting and tasting the, excuse me, a little insect or something flew into my throat. I can feel it. Sorry. Hazards of a organic farm. But anyways, and so what was I saying? Oh, to measure the sugars in the grapes so that they know when to harvest them to make like wine or whatever. But what I'm interested in, you need a little bit of more of a specialized tool, but it's measuring the sugars in the leaves, because the theory, which, well, I haven't done too much research on it, so bear with me, but the theory is that nature is a well-oiled tool. And so your pests and animals and all those things are able to know which plants are the strongest and thus will continue the species, and which ones are weak and are not may not get to reproductive cycle or whatever. And so they attack the weak ones because because obviously if they ate every single plant, then there wouldn't be any food for future generations. So they just are naturally drawn to the weaker plants that have, it's less sugars. There's like a range or whatever. It's really interesting. I'm getting into it, so I'm not like an expert or anything like that. But in talking about powdery mildew, a lot of times the plants are stressed for another reason. And a lot of people, I think that it's overcrowding. But I personally disagree, because all my plants, especially my squash and cucumbers, whatever, are always overcrowded. Like if I spin you around, turn around. So these are my winter, let's see, come on camera. Hey, so these are my my spaghetti squash, the winter squash, my spaghetti. Don't know if you can see if it's coming through on the camera or not. Can you see those? I don't think you can see. I'll come show you. They're beautiful. Let's see. So there's that one. There's a whole bunch of them in there. But so as you can tell, the plants, I mean, it's just a dense, and that continues on with all of my, no, come on camera. It's gonna be sideways. That's okay. This part's almost done. I'll just stand to the side. No, I'm kidding. But I always plant mine really thick. And I know I've seen people talking about powdery mildew in my neck of the woods for weeks now, and I haven't seen any of it on my main crops. I have to go up front. I know I saw some on some wild plantain that doesn't get any water. And so I feel like the approach to take is to make sure that you have a really healthy plant, and not to feed it extra nitrogen. We're kind of in the season where whatever you've got you're kind of riding it out, right? And what you don't, nitrogen is that for that vegetative stage when the plant is growing. And so if your leaves are getting attacked, especially the younger ones, what you don't want to do is have extra nitrogen growing all these extra leaves that are just going to get infected anyways. And so, but anyways, let me show you what it looks like. And that way you can help identify if that's what's in your garden or whatnot. But like I said, I recommend making sure you're watering and watering well. Top watering is okay. Don't be scared of that. And I personally, mine are really close. I don't have that problem. A lot of pumpkin farmers and stuff like that, you can't even walk through. But anyways, I'll show you some of the powdery mildew right now. Just one moment. Okay, so here is a pretty good example of what I was talking about. You see a little bit of the white right there, but if you look at the rest of the leaf, it doesn't necessarily match that. Looks like it's an early infestation. and I'll watch that, but it looks like the plant's doing a pretty good job of fighting against that. And so that's good. Let me show you a better example. So here is a better example. Sorry, I'm not touching it, so I didn't pull it up. There's another one right there. This is the plantain, and it always seems to get it first. So if you have plantain in your backyard, you might notice it there initially. But you see how it looks a little different. It hasn't turned the whole leaf white yet, but you can see there. There's some down there. Let's see. Can't really. That leaf is almost all white, and there's one over here. So it is affecting and this is up towards the front by the house, but it hasn't affected my actual crops yet, which is I'm really thankful for. Okay, well, it looks like I spoke too soon because I was just looking at my red Russian kale, and this is my oldest of my red Russian kale. I do succession plant it. I find that it gets the kales, some of the non-winter kales, or red Russian, white Russian, whatever, they tend to get powdery mildew more easily. And I do have it here. So as you can see, all those white spores, it's not on the back yet, as you can tell, which is where the plant does respiration and stuff like that. But you can see here that it's got it all over. And so these kale plants have it. I've got younger kale on a different part of the garden, and it doesn't have it yet. And so, you know, it's just kind of one of those things. I don't spray anything, and I'm not sure I still get all my harvests and stuff and good production. And so I kind of see it as a natural turning of the tide, kind of. If you want to use something, obviously, more than welcome to. I don't have any recommendations because I haven't done anything. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope that you're able to identify it. And if you're wondering if you have it in your garden, and now you have a couple examples from a few different things. And thanks for watching. Happy gardening. Bye.